First
What
question that
happened?
I asked everybody that's on here is, what was the NFL draft process like for you? And I completely messed up because I wanted to know about space.
Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good. The draft process, though, it definitely was a doozy. Of course, you're it's like a 6 month long, really, if you talk about it from start of your senior year, it's like a year long job interview, where everything that you do is being, looked at and being assessed by the 32 teams in the NFL. For me, my draft process was a little different. I was finishing up my degree that spring. So most people they hit the bowl game, then they fly off to wherever, Arizona, Cali, Florida, wherever it may be, and like they just go and they just train there until the combine. For me, I had like 6 hours left, so I had to do my senior design class where we had to design, build, fly a model airplane, and then my senior lab for aerospace. So I was training down at IMG. I would like be at IMG from like Thursday through Sunday training, or Wednesday through Sunday training. My classes were on Monday and Wednesday. So I'll fly back to Knoxville Sunday night. I'll do class Monday, train in Knoxville Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday, class, finish class, fly back down to IMG, train at IMG all weekend, and then fly back. So I was constantly doing that until the Senior Bowl, then doing that until the Combine. So you go to the Combine, and as I'm sure you've heard, the Combine is the most interesting 5 days of our lives. It's like you spend 2 whole days at the hospital, another entire day in an MRI machine, another day getting interviews, and then the fifth day they say, all right, go perform to the best of your ability. We're giving you no sleep and have asked you a trillion questions. So you go through that, and then I ended up finishing up classes, had pro day, and it all culminated with the draft and getting drafted up to Pittsburgh in 2017. So, I guess I'd say the pre-draft process was definitely a gauntlet, but to reap the benefits of it and be drafted into a situation with a phenomenal organization and great fan base, it was definitely well worth, all those long nights for sure.
I feel like it's definitely unique to some of the guys that we've had on that talked about the draft process, because most of them, it's like as soon as the football's over, they're all preparing for the draft, and that's pretty much the only thing that they're doing. I mean, you're finishing an aerospace engineering degree. I mean, that just goes to show like how much work that you were putting in.
Correct. Yeah, and it definitely was interesting. Interesting dynamic. A lot of coordination between the place I'm training at, people on campus, getting the right training. Obviously, you still want to get rest and get prepared for the events that you have coming up. So it definitely was a different process, but I definitely had a good group of people around me that and a great wealth of knowledge that they were able to help me jump through the hoops and get me prepared for all the milestones that you have to be prepared for throughout the process.
Yeah, like you brought up when you said about the combine, like we have kind of broadly touched on the combine. I guess I didn't realize how much time of that was spent. You said at the hospital, like doing the medical stuff.
Yeah.
Obviously the medicals are important, but I didn't realize it was broken down like that.
Well, so the first day you get there, you literally land in Indianapolis, and I think you get there at the night. So then you go to sleep. You wake up the next morning, like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and you take a bus to the hospital, and you're doing like physicals, blood tests. There's like 20 different stations you have to get through. You keep in mind, I mean, they have a lot of athletes coming in on a daily basis. So the first whole day is at the hospital. The next day, you meet with every NFL team's physical training department. So, where they're doing like shoulder tests, shoulder mobility tests on the quarterbacks, knee tests, hamstring tests, wherever it may be. So like you'll do like legit, you'll do one test. You'll do like whatever, like the shoulder test where they take your arm, press down just to make sure your shoulders are strong. And then you'll walk across the room and you'll do the exact same test for the next team. And walk across, do it for the next team,
wow.
next team. So it's a whole cycle through. And then if you have any injury history, then they order MRI. So you sit in an MRI machine for whatever they deem you need an MRI for. So that's a whole day. And then the next day you have like all your interviews. You have your media, I think bench press also happens on that day. So it's the goal is, and I feel like, they just want to see how you react under distress, because everything's not going to go perfect in the world of football, right? So they want to see how you are able to handle, or you have all these outside distractions being thrown at you, and now boom, it's time to compete. Can you lock in and focus on the task at hand. So they definitely throw you through the ringer. And at all points, they're assessing, how you walk into the hotel, how you treat everyone. But then they just be yourself. As long as you're yourself, everything that's gotten you to where you are will continue to propel you into the next stage of your life. It's that simple, but it definitely is a ringer for sure.
Do you think that they put too much emphasis on what happens at the combine just one day as opposed to years of tape and gameplay in college? Because, you can stink at football, but if you go out and run a 4.3 at the combine, here's a first-round pick right there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the physical attributes are key at the NFL, and that's what gets guys to that level. I do think, there is something to like, hey, what does people's tape look like? How do they actually play the game of football? A lot of people are straight line fast, but how many people are football fast when you're running away from people, you're having to make a guy miss and then run a 40, right? So I know every team has their different assessment. That's why it's been interesting, getting drafted to Pittsburgh and then being around, the scouts and the coaches and seeing what they assess and just how much they put the emphasis on, hey, like, what type of football player are you? How do you react in football situations? We get in a t-shirt, and shorts, anyone can look like the best thing on the field, but how do you react in actual football situation? So every team has their different assessments. But I think and most of the successful teams are putting the emphasis on the right things.
When you get drafted by them, first off, going up through this entire process, did you know that they were interested in drafting you, or was that kind of a surprise? And then also, what was that call like? Because we love those videos.
It's pretty cool. So I'll go back to during the process. I did. So I didn't talk to the Steelers at this. I talked to the GM. Colbert at the Senior Bowl. And he said, Coach T would like to meet you. We'll get him sometime through this process. And then I didn't talk to them at the combine, but I did have a visit up to Pittsburgh where I got the chance to spend a day over on the South Side. And then as well, they came to my pro day. And Coach Tomlin and Kev were front row at that. So I spent a lot of time with them. Had a side meeting with them as well during that time. So I definitely felt the interest coming from Pittsburgh for sure throughout the process. And so, the fast forward to draft day, the call it's a lot of anticipation, just starting the weekend, especially at the quarterback position, because every year, the lay of the land, how guys go, it changes, it varies. You're hearing things, or you could go like late day 1 to day 3, like you don't know when you're gonna get a call. So every time your phone vibrates, rings throughout those 3 days or whatever, you're on edge, you're checking it, you're just staring at the TV, like just watching every pick intently. So it's definitely an anxious period. So to get the call, it's one, just calming. You can stop like staring at the TV, you can stop staring at your phone all weekend. But two, it's really just a dream come true. It's like all the hard work that you've put in up until that point. I started playing football when I was 5, so all the hard work that you put in for 15, 18 years by that point, has all come to fruition, and now you're in the NFL, which is good, but also it means like, hey, now you're starting back at ground zero. Now the slate's wiped clean, you've done nothing. Now what type of work ethic are you going to put in to establish yourself on your new team and go in and make a name for yourself? So it's a very emotional weekend, but it's really the start of the next chapter of your career.
Did you know how big of a deal the Steelers or just football in general was to Pittsburgh before you got drafted there?
I had an idea, right? I had an idea, just growing up in Atlanta where football is football, right? And then going to University of Tennessee where football is king. I've been in those situations where like I had an idea, but I had never been to Pittsburgh before my visit, right? So I had an idea. I was like, they've always been really good at football, right? Football has to be king, but actually getting to Pittsburgh, the energy is completely different than whatever you thought it was before you got there. And just how much the fans just rally around the team. It's very interesting. Like you get there day 1 and like people know you by name, are coming up saying hello, excited for you to be in the city. And I think just that love for football that they have, the love for the team that they have, it definitely goes a long ways. Obviously, now, year 5, right, being in Pittsburgh for going to my 4th year now, I've felt it. I've seen the games. I've been there. I've felt the renegade. So it's my perception obviously is much different now, but it's electric. And I think even then going to Pittsburgh and then leaving, going to Jackson for a year, and then coming back to Pittsburgh, it just makes it even sweeter.
Yeah, I've said this to multiple athletes that have come on this show, and I feel like I'm very biased probably, but I feel like Pittsburgh and its fans care more about its teams and the players on those teams than other cities do.
I mean, for sure. I think you just feel when you just go out in the community and you interact with people. Like we'll be at the gas station and someone will come and be like, "Good luck on Sunday, Josh. Good luck on Sunday." Just like the simple kindness that the fans and the people of the city show, it definitely does go a long way, and we definitely feel it. It really feels like the Pittsburgh Steelers are like the college football team in the city, and it's really cool. Like all the teams rocking the black and gold throughout the city, so. You feel the energy, and we love it for sure. We definitely love it. It was definitely different having an empty Heinz Field this past year because of COVID. So we'll be excited when we can get back to full capacity and get it back jumping. As we tell him all the time, it's like, yo, we grew up watching. Now he's still playing, still slinging the ball around, right? Playing at a high level. So
he probably doesn't like when you bring up the fact that you grew up watching him because it makes him
No.
feel old. I remember that interaction he had with Chase Young last year, where he's like, "Don't do that."
Yeah, don't do that. You don't do that. I think like Dwayne's young. I think he just turned like 22 or 23. So like Ben always like just does. He's like, yo, I like been in the league since you were like 6. He always does. He always does the age comparison to us. He's like, I'm the old man in the group. It's funny.